Welcome to Stories from the Center of the Universe, the podcast about the human experience.
Austin Wilson, welcome to the Center of the Universe. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I should mention that we connected through Nick Clark, who you went to Atlee High School with, and I think, I'm pretty sure Alec mentioned you during his episode, and you and Alec know each other really well because you went to college together, and so you've basically known Alec most of your life.
Probably since sixth grade.
Sixth grade to
about
now.
14 years, yeah.
I
think that's about 14 years.
A little over half, yeah. Right on. Cool. We're going to get to why you went to Florida State here in a second. But let's start with, where did you grow up?
Mechanicsville, Virginia. Born and raised, or born in Richmond at least, and grew up in Mechanicsville. I think I moved out of Richmond when I was a month old. So the same house my entire life.
What part of Mechanicsville?
Atlee area, over off of New Ashkick Road.
Okay. Yeah. We lived off New Ashkick
Did you?
for a bit, in Milestone.
Oh, okay, yeah, I live in Ash Creek.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's weird how they divided the school district in that part of the county.
Like out Nick and my buddy Ty, I went to Milestone, and we were best friends throughout elementary school. And then going into fifth grade, they're like, "Oh, we're going to split it."
Yeah,
it wasn't even in half either. It was Milestone was on our side, and they were going to Foxhead. But I think when they split it for everyone in elementary school, middle school, high school, all the high schoolers on one side, Foxhead, et cetera, went to Hanover.
Right. But
still Milestone and Atlee were Atlee.
Yeah.
But they were different elementary schools.
Yeah, they also did this weird thing with the kids, even in Milestone, where they all went to Kersey Creek, but they somehow split them up for middle school. Some went to Oak Knoll and some went to Chickahominy. Just didn't make any sense to me.
I think it's a numbers thing. Is when it comes down to it,
I guess, and you want to fill the new school, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
And so they end up doing some weird things that don't make sense to everybody. Cool. All right, so you're Hanover County. I mean, not technically born, but you're born in Central Virginia, and you consider yourself a Hanover County
Absolutely.
guy. And you live in Hanover County now.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Besides college, did you ever leave Hanover?
No,
that's
not
beautiful.
At all. It's pretty crazy.
You and I are very similar in that way.
But I had to get out, I think, of Hanover for college at least. That's what was one of my requirements, to at least explore a little bit.
Well, we're going to get to college days. Yeah. If you had stayed in Hanover County and went to college, I think your only choice was Randolph-Macon.
Yeah. In Hanover, couldn't do that.
That would be a weird move. I mean, Randolph-Macon's a good school for some people, but you have to like really small liberal arts schools, and that's not for everybody.
My mom would be at my dorm room steps every day.
Yeah, my mom strongly suggested that I go to Randolph-Macon because she taught there. She's like, you can go for free. I'm like, but we live a mile and a half from here. There's no way I'm doing that. Yeah, because you'll know everything that I do.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not the point of college. You'll
call me and say, what are you doing tonight?
Exactly.
Let me come.
Exactly. All right, so what were you doing in your spare time when you were like 10, 11 years old?
Grew up playing sports, man. I mean, that was my life. I had a lot of people growing up on my, as a child, had a lot of kids growing up on my cul-de-sac, so we always used to, our cul-de-sac was mainly known for having parties, at least the adults. The adults would, I mean, we started actually having it was called a redneck party.
Okay.
Because one of our old neighbors came outside one night when we were having a little bonfire in the middle of the cul-de-sac and came out and started screaming, "You're all rednecks," and was banging a pot with a spoon.
Because you started a fire in the middle of the cul-de-sac?
Basically, we started a fire in the cul-de-sac. Some nights there'd be fireworks, depending on the night.
We get a little rowdy.
And we'd get a little rowdy, and they were kind of older. It was weird because they were really nice at first. And then what happened, it was literally, I think we had a blizzard in 1999.
Okay.
It's the night the Rams won the Super Bowl.
Oh, nice. Because the coverage was spotty that night.
Yeah.
We lost the signal.
I had to watch the Super Bowl in a van.
Yeah, right.
And on one of those 6-inch TVs.
I listened to it. Yeah, because I didn't have one of those.
And a tree fell on their fence that night. And the next day, my dad gets an email, a voicemail. I don't think texting was a thing back then, but he gets email and a voicemail saying, "Your tree fell on my fence and I'm furious." And since then, they were pissed.
What could your dad do about the tree?
Nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just in our yard and fell, in the middle of the storm.
That's, there must have been something not connecting for them.
Yeah. So they were, ever since then, we had the cops called on us one time because we fell in their yard playing hockey out in the middle of the street.
Yeah.
Cops called.
They called the cops over.
Cops, yes.
Kids playing a game falling into the yard.
Yeah. We used to do a bunch of stuff. I mean, obviously I grew up playing football. I played baseball for a while until fourth grade, and they told me I could hit someone with a lacrosse stick and didn't have to stand out in the outfield and pick my nose. Give me a lacrosse
Lacrosse
stick.
is a fun game.
Yeah. Which actually Nick's dad kind of brought it to Hanover.
Yeah, because nobody knew what lacrosse was until Nick's dad brought it.
Yeah, and he started Blackhawk, and boom, it took off.
And still popping, right?
Yeah, and we were all just football players playing lacrosse. We had no idea what we were doing.
Just wanted to hit people.
They gave us a stick and said, yeah, go at it.
You can go hurt the other guy.
If we can get some athletes to play lacrosse, we can have a good lacrosse team, and we ended up having a pretty decent lacrosse team.
But it was always club. It never became a school thing, right?
It did my senior year.
Oh, wow.
My senior year was the first year, and then after that, they had literally gone to this, I don't know how many years it's been, but maybe like 4 or 5 after I graduated, they went to a state championship game and lost by a goal.
Oh, wow.
Every single one.
That's crazy.
Yeah, my brother played goalie for 2 of those, so.
That doesn't seem fun to me, playing goalie lacrosse.
Have you felt that ball before?
It's hard. It's a hard ball, and you're not running around.
At all.
You're not mixing it up. You can only fail.
Yeah, you're getting
Typically.
hit,
Yeah.
too. Yeah, he's bruised all over.
Yeah.
Or usually does. But yeah, I could never do that, especially getting hit in the cup or something on a
The ball's moving way too
90-mile-an-hour
fast.
shot.
Yeah.
No, don't sign me up for that. But yeah, I mean, we grew up playing sports, played quarterback my whole life. Fell in love with, football and the game.
You want to go back to the cul-de-sac?
Yeah.
How did you guys make the fire in the cul-de-sac?
It was it's like something you buy from Home Depot, a little metal.
Oh, got it. Okay.
I don't know what those things are called, but it was contained.
Right.
But we ended up having those redneck parties. That was after they left.
So they did leave. They weren't in the neighborhood until you were 18.
Yeah. No, they didn't. I think I was young when they moved out. But yeah, they moved. They ended up moving, and we started having these redneck parties where everyone would come dressed up as rednecks, basically, and have a blast. And the kids loved it too. I mean, I was a kid, and we would just go out there and play manhunt in the yards. We'd use the whole cul-de-sac and use
fun.
everyone's backyards to hang out. And yeah, it was awesome.
Well,
and
Nick grew up on a cul-de-sac too.
Yeah, and Nick was at every single one of those parties probably.
Yeah.
And then at one point we had German neighbors that moved across the street.
From
Germany. Yeah, I mean the kids had no idea how to speak any English. It was funny because we were kids too. And we'd kind of teach them how to speak and show them some video games that we play, and they were like in awe of it. But we ended up turning the redneck party into like an Oktoberfest
because they're Germans. In the
cul-de-sac now. So every single year we'd have an Oktoberfest party.
That sounds more fun than a redneck party.
Yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, my cul-de-sac was awesome, and it's weird now, like going back to visit my mom, and it's totally different. There's not as many kids out there playing. Like we were literally every single day trikes and playing sports out in the yard. And,
kids these days. I mean, there's still some of that, but there's too many things to distract them that cause them to not want to go outside.
Oh, I'm not gonna lie. We spent a lot of times playing video games too, but we did spend a lot more time, I think, outside. I think the biggest thing too is with a lot of that is cell phones.
Yeah,
and kids getting a cell phone or getting an iPad and never wanting to leave it.
It's a problem.
Yeah,
it
absolutely,
really is.
Absolutely.
I mean, my parents are the grandparents of my 3 kids, and they're like, they will not allow cell phones out when my kids are with them. I'm like, I wish I had that level of intensity, but I'm around them all the time. Like you have to let them
I mean,
a little bit.
It gives. I mean, it does so much. It has done so much, at least for the world in general. Cell phones and technology. And I mean, I use it every single day. I mean, that's literally my job is my phone.
Right.
Which I also have problems with, being on it too much too. But that's, I mean, back like what you were saying, I probably wouldn't give my kids a phone till 8th grade at least. When there's time when I need to actually get a hold of them, type of stuff. When they start driving and going to places without me.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice, but I've become, my wife especially, as a helicopter parent, and that's not great for the kids either, because I view my job, and it's hard for me to actually live this, but I view my job as helping my kids become independent. Yeah. And when you're constantly monitoring what they're doing, it's hard for them to be independent.
Absolutely.
So there's a balance in there, for sure.
Good balance.
It's hard to find it at
Absolutely.
times.
I don't have kids yet, but at some point I will know what you're saying, but I know, at least from experience as being a kid.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, so when you got into middle school, high school, you were playing football.
Yeah,
and you're not a big guy.
No. Well, it's funny. My dad's 6'4". My younger brother 6'3". I'm 5'10". So I got my grandfather's height. My brother got my dad's height.
Well, 5'10's average for an American male.
Yeah. But like in middle school, I was 5'10" within 6th or 7th grade. I was massive.
But you weighed maybe a buck what?
Buck. Oh God. I mean, 6th grade I was wrestling 103. 7th grade was like 115.
Were you playing football in 6th grade?
Yeah, we did everything.
You were weighing 110 during football season, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
That had to be hard, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my 6th grade year wasn't that bad. I was still playing. I didn't want to try out for the middle school team because I played quarterback, and what I was going to do go sit in 3rd string.
Yeah.
As a 6th grader, so I just played Blue Star.
Yep.
And I mean, 6th grade it wasn't hard to compete, and by the time 7th grade, I had a huge growth spurt and was 5'10". I mean, at least 120 pounds, and I was bigger than everyone for a little bit.
Right.
Bigger and stronger. I think I ended up getting a weight bench in 7th grade because I was obsessed with it. And asked Nick. I was stronger than Nick too back then.
Which is funny to look at Nick
now.
Yeah,
and then never grew again.
Oh man, that's brutal.
Yeah, very brutal.
Especially if you love football.
Absolutely. I always say my biggest regret was not wrestling in high school because we were pretty damn good.
Yeah.
A lot of us, like me and all my friends, and that was probably my best sport, just because I think I was stronger than a lot of people too. And,
right.
Was pretty good at it, man. Yeah.
Yeah. You knew Nick in 6th grade?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Nick since kindergarten.
Okay.
So yeah.
So Alec, you met in 6th grade.
Yeah.
Nick didn't play Blue Star.
No. So my first year, I followed him. He played Ashland Vikings, and he was like, "Come play for us," because it was my first year at tackle.
Okay.
I had played flag at the YMCA, I think, in 3rd grade.
Right.
And so I went and played Ashland Vikings, and I think they had like, here's a good one. Back to me being small. Went to go play Ashland Vikings. Went to play with Nick's team. Wanted to play with Nick's team, and instead of playing with Nick's team, I think the first day we were out there, they're like, "You 4, you're too small. You're going down to the." I was like Pee Wee or something.
So they separated you from Nick.
Separated me from Nick. Went to some team I didn't really know anyone on. Me and my buddy Michael Field I grew up with, also in Ash Creek. He was on that team too. But I remember going out there. I knew I wanted to play quarterback, and they have kids out there the first day, like they're just testing out positions.
And everybody wanted to play quarterback.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think they were like testing me out at wide receiver. I caught a pass and threw it back, and the guy goes, "Whoa,
that's a spiral."
Whoa, yeah, a little 4th grader throwing a spiral. He's like, he's playing quarterback. And that's kind of how it took off.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Quarterback's a fun position.
It's a lot of fun, a lot of pressure. For a lot of it, a lot of coaches called me, I guess, ice in the veins because I was very just
chill,
kind of relaxed.
Yeah.
I think that was also comes with playing on some crappy teams too. And I mean, that Ashland Vikings team was 1-7 or something like that.
Brutal.
We're getting smacked, and I'm 4th grade, just boom, 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 taking hits everywhere.
Yeah, because they didn't know how to block, probably.
Yeah, absolutely not. And then, I played freshman quarterback too, since I couldn't be a starter in varsity as a freshman, and that was also really fun. That's some of the best football I've ever played, freshman, just because it was kind of messing around. Me and my buddies used to. Coach Thompson would hate me saying this, but we used to have hot routes. We used to run little audibles
that he didn't know about.
He had no idea.
And he knew it once you ran it, though, right?
Oh, we got through one full game, maybe 2, of doing it until he said, "What are you guys doing? Hand signals? What is that?" Oh, he got pissed.
Oh, you had hand signals.
He got pissed. Yeah.
Were they pretty obvious hand signals?
A little bit. I mean, a little tap on the head, maybe tap on the foot, and
if he's paying attention, he picks.
He was a soccer coach, and it was his first time coaching football. And I just remember, I think it was one game we played Glen Allen. We were freshmen. Glen Allen, that was when they just started. It was the first year of high school, so they had freshmen and sophomores,
right?
And they could only field a JV team. I don't know why they signed us up to play them as a freshman team, but we did. And of course, they're playing on Friday nights with the band, and it's like, this is their varsity football. And we go in, and I mean, they're older than us, and we got smacked.
Yeah, there's a big difference between 15-year-olds and 16-year-olds.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we were down by 40 points, and I'm like, Coach. I turned to one of our assistant coaches. I said, "Do you think Coach Thompson will let me call plays for one drive?" And he said, "Oh, let me ask him." And I said, "Oh, no." Goes ask him. Thompson comes over and just rips me a new one.
He should have let you do it.
I know. Just give me one.
You're getting killed.
Just
Who cares?
Just to do it, you know.
Friday Night Lights as a freshman, though, that's kind of cool.
Oh, absolutely.
Until they started kicking your butts.
It was a lot of fun. I had some good football memories. Just not many championships. I guess my freshman football, I couldn't play on some championship teams or JV, obviously. But I had a lot of great football memories.
Do you know why Nick played for the Vikings?
I don't really know.
He told me this
honestly.
story when we recorded, but it was off recording.
Yeah.
And I think I can share it on the recording.
Yeah, absolutely.
His dad is a Washington Redskins fan, and he said, "There's no way my son's playing with a star on his helmet."
That is great. It was fun. I mean, Asheville was fun. It was not fun driving 30 minutes to practice, but besides that, it was a lot of fun. And at least you got to meet some new people. Actually, my second client was my teammate at Ashland Vikings.
Really?
Yeah. He played at UVA. Eli Handback. He played at Patrick Henry.
Okay.
Played at UVA. I think he started 55 games and
what position
didn't
is he?
miss a game. Defensive tackle.
Okay.
He was that COVID year and didn't end up, basically didn't get anything after the draft and gave it literally 2 or 3 days and said, you know what, I'm going to go get another degree. And he already had 2 at UVA.
Wow.
And was going to get another one from William & Mary. And I think he's about to graduate actually here soon.
Oh, that's great.
But yeah, it was pretty funny. He was literally one of my best friends in 4th grade and one of my teammates.
That's wild.
Ashland Vikings, yeah.
Does he still have dreams of playing in the pros?
No, I think he's super smart. And
Yeah.
he gave, again, like I said, he gave it 3 days of me trying to get him an opportunity somewhere. He was just like, I don't want to wait. I'm going to go get my degree.
Well, if you're a smart guy, there are plenty of things you can do.
Yeah, and he was fine with it.
What's he want to do?
I'm not even sure.
Professional student, maybe?
No, I think his master's was in marketing possibly, and I think he's going to get his MBA somewhere, or at William & Mary.
Okay.
But I'm not 100% sure what
Maybe
he wants to do.
be an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I think that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think athletes are born entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
In a way.
You're definitely willing to take risk.
Absolutely.
To get to that level.
No, a lot of guys don't want to have a boss either.
Right.
Since they've had a coach on their ass for, X amount of years for how long they played football.
Yeah, everybody gets to a certain age, they don't want to have a boss anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so did you play? I think you were telling me when we chatted a few weeks ago that you ended up not playing through high school.
Yeah. So literally going into my junior year, my first year in varsity, because I played freshman quarterback, JV quarterback. Going into that August, well, actually that summer, I was having back problems like squatting. And I remember just going through those morning lifts and just being like, some days it felt good, some days it didn't. And then we got to August and I made it through. I think like the first day I was fine. Second day I was kind of tight. My back was very tight. Third and fourth day it was miserable.
Yeah.
Could barely move. I remember the last thing I did was we were doing back pedals up a hill. And then I just locked up and I said, Coach, I can't do this anymore. And ended up, went and got an MRI. I remember the first person told me it was just a muscle injury, and I said, no.
There's no way.
There's no way there's a muscle. I mean, I've never really had an injury my entire career. I mean, I actually had a stress fracture in my shoulder from I'd go out there and not warm up in 5th grade and just start throwing bombs.
That'll do it, yeah.
I played a whole season in 6th grade with it, my entire 6th grade season. I mean, we weren't passing that much, but that was like my only injury I ever had, and I did not think it was a muscle injury because I've obviously had muscle injuries too. And I was like, no. I went to another doctor, got another MRI, and they were like, yeah, it's possibly that you have a herniated disc here. And that's what ended up happening. I had 2 herniated discs. I actually have an extra disc in my sacrum. Surprisingly, I don't know what that's from.
You mean you were born with that?
Born with extra disc, yeah, my sacrum.
Wow.
And it's not like a family thing either. It was just random.
Yeah.
Which that could have played a part in herniating my discs.
Right. Well, describe herniating. What is herniating?
Basically when the disc between the vertebrae kind of either splits, which mine kind of tore, and then will extend out. So like it'll touch, it'll extend out from the vertebrae and touch nerves and hit nerves.
And those nerves are super sensitive in that part of your body.
Yeah, and thankfully it's gotten better over the years, but like back then, like when I was 16 when that was happening, like I couldn't stand for that long because I could feel like my legs getting numb and my feet getting numb. Same thing with like sitting.
It's got to be scary as a teenager.
Oh, absolutely. And then at 16 years old for them to tell you that you can't have surgery and this is the worst it's going to get, so you could either play and not complain or complain and not play. And I tried playing and it just wasn't the same at all. I remember going in because I used to go to PT before school, like 7 a.m. or whatever, and I remember sitting on the table and looking over to the guy next to me. He said, what's wrong with you? What's your injury? And I said, I have 2 herniated discs. He said, so do I. it only gets better with surgery. And I was like, shit, I can't get surgery. So basically I had to plan for the golf match at 45 and not, my dream was to play college football, and I didn't care if that was D1, D2, D3. I just wanted to keep playing and figure out what I wanted to do afterwards. I didn't expect myself to make the NFL because, again, I'm 5'10". But that, just having that, that was my love. That was my passion. Having that taken away at 16 was kind of insane, and going through that. And I didn't want to give it up, but I had to. So obviously, like I said, I turned to, my friends were getting recruited to college football, and I thought for a second, I think I watched Jerry Maguire and loved it.
So this is happening in your junior year?
Yeah, my junior year, watched Jerry Maguire and loved it. And, I told Alec, I said, maybe I could represent you one day if I can't play football anymore.
And you guys are super tight back then.
Super tight, yeah. I said the same thing to Nick. Ty Burris, I don't know if you know Ty Burris.
I know the name, yeah.
One of the best athletes of all time, and we could save that for later, but he could have played anywhere in college. And, that just having that taken away from me sucked, and trying to figure it out.
So I played football in high school.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that happening to me.
I mean, it was my love, and even if I was just able to play those last 2 years, that would have been awesome. But, messing around with being an agent and talking to my friends about how I could possibly represent them at some point. And it was just a thought and kind of idea until...
Did you know what an agent was and what they did?
Based off Jerry Maguire. And one of my coaches actually asked me he's like, you got to watch The Dotted Line. I was like, what is that? It was an ESPN 30 for 30 on agents. And they go through the guy who paid Reggie Bush, who got all his national championships and the Heisman taken away,
right?
And a bunch of other guys. And actually, they followed my coworker currently, which is kind of a small world thing. He was the guy who hired me as an intern with my first internship.
Okay.
So they followed him during that too, and that's really that gave you kind of more of an insight than a Jerry Maguire would into like what an agent does. So I had a good idea. And it was kind of just a thought at first, and then my dad told me to make a LinkedIn. And I think that was like the spring of my junior year. So like I think I tried to play lacrosse and couldn't do it either.
Yeah.
And put up aspiring sports agent, aspiring NFL agent.
You're the only kid in your high school putting that out into the universe, right?
Probably with a LinkedIn, I think. And that was just
or just in general.
My dad was one of the best businessmen that I've ever met in my entire life.
Okay.
I was like, if you want to do this, start a LinkedIn. Why not?
Yeah.
So I did it. I randomly, out the blue, I think I had it up for like 3 or 4 months. Out the blue, someone reaches out to me and says, as a high school coach, and he says, I have 3 former college standouts that are looking for representation or trying to get to the NFL or CFL. And I was like, why is he? My bio says aspiring.
How old are you at this point?
16.
Yeah.
My bio says aspiring sports agent for a reason. I don't know why he's reaching out to me. And I was like, Dad, look at this. And he's like, holy shit, you should look into that. And so I looked into being an NFL agent. You had to have a degree beyond a bachelor's.
Right.
But to be a CFO agent, all you needed was pass an exam and pay a fee. And
dude, when I was 16, I couldn't fathom doing what you were talking about at 16.
And I really, my dad just pushed me to do it just because it was, I had all the time in the world. I was still I went to every single football practice throughout, my junior and senior year too.
You just loved it that much?
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to be around it.
Yeah.
But, in my spare time, I didn't have anything else to do. I was coming home and wasn't sweaty or anything. Obviously still showered, but, I had some time. And my dad really pushed me just to find a passion, kind of. And that was what that became. So I actually ended up looking into it, reached out to the CFL, and I think like the next day, I sent them an email. The next day they got back to me and said, we've never had a 16-year-old apply, but we could check in, or 17, I think at the time. There was a 17-year-old apply, but we'll check to see with our legal team and see if we can do this.
An American, no less.
Yeah. And got back to me the next day and said, yeah, here's the exam, which actually the CFL does it different than NFL. The CFL is a written exam, open note. They just send it to you, and you get, I think it's like 3 weeks to do it. So it was a lot of me just going through the CBA and, finishing the test. And it was just literally writing. Like the NFL is multiple choice. You get 3 hours. And I feel like the NFL is a lot more information, but The CFL is just you have to write it out and explain it rather than picking multiple choice.
And is it rules of the league plus law plus
rules of the league, things that you can get in trouble for as an agent? Obviously, things you can't do, negotiating contracts, everything that you could possibly think of NFL wise. That's what it is.
Yeah.
You know, injured reserve stuff, literally all the rules. CFL. The CFL was actually, it's just a way different game, which was, like, if you ask me now what the CFL rules were, I have no idea because I don't have any CFL clients, so I don't have to know.
Their end zones are massive.
End zones are massive.
They can run towards the line of scrimmage.
10 more yards, I think, wide, too.
Yeah, it's a huge field.
They could run towards the line of scrimmage. That motion's crazy. And there's also, I think there's 12 players, but I could be totally wrong.
I've watched the CFL game forever.
But yeah, I ended up, I think the exam took me 2 or 3 weeks. All you had to do was get above a 75%, which was pretty doable, and you could also retake it, which was unbelievable to me too.
Could you take it like an infinite number of times? Or
no, you only get 2 chances. Then you had to reapply and pay a fee again.
Okay. They just wanted to make the fee.
Yeah. So I passed it the first go round. I had 4 clients.
The same 4 clients.
Same 4 guys that had. With the high school coach that reached out to me.
And how old were these guys at the time?
One guy was actually 32.
Wow.
That was my oldest. And he played in the Major League. He played Major League Baseball for like 7 years. And then he didn't play football at all in high school. And which is 6'6", massive human being.
Yeah.
Was playing Arena League and reached, obviously was part of this 4 guys. But yeah, he was 32 years old. He didn't end up he played in the arena for like 5 more years. Didn't end up making anything. Yeah. And then 2 of my other clients didn't make it, and my one client ended up making the CFL. So I actually negotiated my first contract at 17.
So you had a guy in the CFL before you graduated high school?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome,
I wasn't taking any money from him. I told him I was just doing it for experience too, so I didn't charge him.
Well, it's invaluable.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And these guys trusted a 17-year-old at that time.
Well, they got to know you.
Do that. Yeah. I think I did more for them than, that's what they told me then. They're 45,
The 45-year-olds knew what the bare minimum was.
Yeah. And now that I've the hardest part about this industry is you can't help everyone.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, like, to get a drafted guy, that training before the combine training, before the draft, and before the combine, before the pro day, we're paying on average probably $40,000. So you have to know that you're going to be able to get that money back.
It's a real investment.
Yeah. Or you're on the hot seat and you lose your job, or you can't feed your family, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like I always tell guys, I'll talk to anyone, I'll help anyone, I'll give you advice. But the crappy thing is you can't help everyone.
Right.
But yeah, the CFL thing was a lot of fun. I had a Dan Waldschmidt, who's one of the most insane business strategists in the entire world, multimillionaire. He actually hired me in him school, basically as their sports marketing department. Wasn't really super involved with him.
How did you guys connect?
Him and my dad worked together. So my dad did litigation, a lot of litigation services. So he owned a copy shop, and Philip Morris was always getting sued, so he did a lot of litigation work for them. And Dan worked in litigation before he started doing business strategy.
Okay.
And Dan actually, when I was graduating from Florida State, I was looking for a job when I was trying to graduate from Florida State. I was taking 4 classes, studying for the NFL exam, which was in August. July, and I took the exam before I graduated, actually. Was in July, and then I was trying to figure out where the hell I was working. Because what I realized earlier is there's no one hiring an agent out of college that doesn't have any clients.
Right.
Even if I had all the connections at Florida State, they were going to hire me. So I reached out to him and I said, basically, what do you think about starting an agency? And he called me the next day and said, let's do this. Connected me with Marcus Colston, former wide receiver with the Saints.
Yeah.
He was really cool. His career was really cool. He actually started like 4 or 5 businesses while he was playing.
I always had the impression he was a good guy.
Yeah, one of the first like entrepreneurs, NFL kind of guys, and he introduced me to him, as well as Jill Stelfox, who's the VP of Zebra Technologies, and they do all of the GPS systems, like the actual technology for the NFL.
Oh, nice.
So they say like Amazon. I think Amazon does the stats part. Zebra does the actual technology of it.
Right.
So we negotiated for about 3 months, and until like September of that year, and Marcus was basically like, I'm too busy with my other businesses and I'm out, kind of thing. And literally the next day I got offered a job from the agency I interned with.
Okay.
Kind of sign from God,
Yeah. Do you wish the your own agency had worked out? I mean, I think the answer has
No.
to. You're glad it didn't.
No. I'm glad it didn't, only because this industry is just so competitive that and number two, like I've learned a lot from working with other people, and especially, our CEO was done this for 25 years, negotiated over $1 billion in contracts. He's repped Bruce Smith, Warwick Dunn, Ray Lewis, like Von Miller, some big name guys, and
like the biggest.
Yeah,
names.
learning from a guy like that is invaluable.
All right, let's back up to the junior year in high school.
Yeah.
You knew you wanted to be an agent. You assumed you weren't going to play football ever again. You're really tight with Alec.
Yes. Yeah.
Alec is talking to a few schools.
Yep.
But he's a teenage kid. Very supportive parents, but it's still mostly new.
Yeah.
At what point did you know you were going to go to the same school Alec went to?
When he got the first offer from Maryland, that's when I knew. I was like, holy crap, this has actually happened. When he got his first offer, I think it was the spring of our junior year. So after I herniated my disc and before I actually put out the LinkedIn profile, and I remember going, like, I went to visit Maryland, like that's how serious I was, and toward the campus. And
you and Alec must be and must have been super tough.
Absolutely, yeah. And then I hit the offers just flooded in. It was the floodgates opened after that. He got one offer, and then
he was a stud on both sides of the ball.
Within 2-3 months, he had Auburn, Alabama, and Florida State,
it's crazy.
Everywhere in the country. And I literally think that spring, like 3 months after that, he committed to Florida State.
Did you have any influence in that at all?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. Honestly, I would have. I guess at that time I would have preferred Maryland just because it was closer to home.
Right.
But at the same time, it was Florida State, and they had literally were about to win a national championship. So I was,
when you were seniors in high school.
Yeah. It was. Oh yeah, man. It
was Jameson's freshman year.
Yep. Yeah. I didn't ever envision myself again. I said I wanted to get out and not go to like a Randolph-Macon or a JMU or somewhere in Virginia, but Florida State was far. But I was like, this is the best for my career. We're gonna have some fun. I get to have a job with the team most likely, and that's what my plan was, and that's what I did.
What did you do for the team at Florida State?
Worked equipment.
Okay.
So I worked equipment with the quarterbacks. I like to say that's the job next to the janitor. It's at least a thankless job. So it humbled me at least, and it was a good experience. I did it for 3 years. Worked with Everett Golson and DeAndre Francois, Sean Maguire.
Yep.
Was the year after Jameis left, so I
Okay.
didn't get to work with him. But invaluable connections that I've met there. Both of my clients in NFL, I've met them at Florida State. All of my coaching clients, I met them at Florida State, besides Brian Shore, who played at JMU, national championship quarterback at JMU. So that experience was awesome. And I like to say, a lot of the guys who showed me respect back then get the same respect from me now. There were some guys that were pretty disrespectful while he was working equipment. But it is what it is. Again, like it was a good experience.
Well,
man.
young men will be
everywhere.
Young men will be young men.
Absolutely.
Some have tons of character, and maybe others don't have a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Where's the line between needing representation? And I'm mostly asking. Well, I think I'm asking for players and for coaches.
Yeah.
Where's that line typically for both players and coaches?
What do you mean by
like if you're a Division III coach?
Yeah. Oh,
do you need representation?
Yeah, if you're a head coach, absolutely.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's fascinating to me.
Because you're gonna, the contract's probably gonna be a couple $100,000. If it's a decent D3 program, and we're talking about Eastern Washington. Not Eastern Washington. I'm thinking FCS.
I'm thinking Randolph-Macon.
Probably not.
Okay.
Maybe like Mount Union. Yes.
Okay.
Although the Randolph-Macon coach might need an agent only because he could be progressing upwards. You really don't need an agent as a coach until you get that first, if you're looking for an OC job or a DC job.
And you're trying to make it to FBS.
That's really what you need the coach to an agent to negotiate that contract. But if you're like my clients right now are GAs and some of them are QCs, they don't really need me.
Right.
You would look like an idiot if you had me reaching out to Nick Saban to get you a job as a GA.
Right.
So I tell them, once you are a position coach somewhere and have established yourself, that's kind of when you're going to be able to use me, at least connection-wise and then contract-wise.
All right, so that's for the coaches. What about players? Players aspiring to be in the CFL or NFL?
I think all players need an agent if they're trying to, once they get out of college, just because a lot of guys just don't really know the process or how anything works. A lot of guys I talk to, there's something called the College Advisory Committee, and it helps underclassmen decide if they want to leave for the NFL or not. So it's basically an evaluation from all 32 teams that'll basically tell you what round you're going to go in or just to stay in school.
So you as the player reach out to the CAC?
No, so it's through the school.
Oh, okay.
The school does it, and only 5 guys from each university can be put on that. But a lot of kids that I talk to have no idea. They've never heard of it before in their entire life. So like
I've heard of it tonight for the first time.
Yeah, so they're like kind of I don't know why. Number one, I don't know why they're taught about it. I think really why is because there's only 5 guys from each school, so they might take, the coach might say these 5 guys should probably put their name in, and maybe that's why they don't really tell them about it. But that's just part of the stuff that I think why you need an agent, because it's the education piece. Like Lamar Jackson does have an agent currently.
Does not?
No. Which he should have had a contract already done before this year.
Yeah, because he's in the middle. He's in the
his
prime,
last year.
He's in the prime time of making a bunch of money in his second contract.
And he's in his last year of his rookie deal. Yeah, and what also bothered me was he was playing basketball like all summer. And there was like videos of him playing basketball, and you're playing basketball.
Why is he doing
the
that?
year of just playing around with your friends, and that's how you get injured. And then you get injured off the field in the NFL, you don't get paid.
Right.
So like that, like I think in situations like that, that's when you need an agent. That's when it helps a lot.
If Lamar listens to this, could you be his agent?
Absolutely, I think I could be his agent. Yeah,
that's
it's
gonna be it's gonna be a huge contract.
Oh, absolutely. I can't imagine the Justin Herbert one in 2 to 3 years. It's going to be ridiculous.
Can Lamar negotiate his own contract? Does he?
Yes.
Does he? He doesn't have to have an agent.
He doesn't have to have an agent. So like Richard Sherman doesn't have an agent. Maybe I know he didn't have an agent when he signed with the 49ers. When he left Seattle and signed with the 49ers for that contract, he did have an agent. He might have one now. Bobby Wagner doesn't have an agent. There's only
Bobby Wagner's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, there's only 5 Bobby, like within the past 3 years, I think fired his agent and negotiated his new contract by himself, which I don't recommend. But there's like, I think off the top of my head, probably like 5 guys that don't have agents in the NFL. Jacoby Brissett, Lamar, Bobby Wagner, and Richard Sherman are the only guys I know of.
Huh. Yeah, anything they have in common? No, a couple played at Seattle.
No. I know Lamar does it, or Lamar's mom does his marketing for him.
They're very tight, I understand.
Yeah, which, at the end of the day, if you perfect your craft, marketing is going to come to you. You might need, an agent that understands the market for, you posting something on social or you being on a commercial. But at the end of the day, you don't really need a marketing agent to reach out to companies. Like I'm sure there's people coming to them.
Lamar does not. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's just waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The NFL contract stuff and like playing basketball in a contract year is the stuff that I just don't understand.
Yeah,
that's when you need an agent.
Yeah, there's a lot of money changing hands, and I would think you'd want somebody who has expertise to help you.
Yeah.
All right. So walk me through a day when you're the equipment manager. I'm saying equipment manager. Maybe there's a different title to it. Equipment manager for the football team or for the quarterback.
So obviously go to school. We go to school in the mornings. With Jimbo, we had practice in the afternoon, so we didn't practice till I think 3:30 every day.
So you're on the same schedule as the players.
Yeah. So we had to schedule our classes around practice. So I had all like morning classes, and then afternoon was football. So we'd get there. I'd probably get there around 2:00, depending on my class. Also, depending on the day, I took care of all the football. So, like, and quarterbacks obviously want their footballs perfect and everything. So I went through the process of, putting them in. We used shaving cream. I used leather conditioner. I'd run them through the dirt. I'd tie them to the little Gator 4-wheeler thing we'd have and, run them through the dirt like that.
It's better for the grip, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So like I did a lot of stuff like that, and then just take it. I mean, thankfully I worked a position where there's only like 4 guys, so that was a relief to me. So I was really just in charge of those guys. But a lot of the times, obviously, we get big Nike shipments, so maybe we're sorting shoes, or we also had like shoes that were like, we had cleats that were like 5, 6, 7 years old that we would just held on to in like a storage room, and they were all just thrown in somewhere. And I remember that day we had to go through this old dusty storage room of probably 2,000 pairs of shoes, and
that's too many shoes.
Get them out of there and put them in I think we donated them to Florida High. But that was kind of my day. And then for practice, obviously I'd have all the balls ready, and for our guys, at practice I was in charge of spotting the ball. I guess that's what the quarterback manager did. So I was doing a lot of the left hash, third down and 4, put it down there or something. Also the funnest one was always the 2-minute drills, because it's just me. There's no refs putting the balls down. So I'm full sprinting. Those guys are sprinting after the play's over. Right. I'm full sprinting too to put that ball down. You got to be
there with them. Yeah.
I remember one time it was rainy and I was full sprinting, and I went to stop to put the ball down. I stopped and I slipped, and I can hear Alec go, "Get your ass up!" And he just grabs me and goes, like threw me forward, and I ended up putting the ball down, but I was like, boom, and just got out.
You were spotting for Alec most of the time.
Yeah, I mean, Alec was
you would touch the ball, and then Alec is snapping it.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, man. I mean, we had a lot of fun off the field as well as on the field, for sure, at Florida State.
Were you guys around each other all the time except for class?
Yeah, we lived with each other. Like my freshman year, I actually brought one of my best friends, Joanne Lyons. He was going to go to community college in West Virginia. I said, "There's a community college down in Tallahassee, buddy. We could go to Tallahassee and have some fun." And he was like, "You know what? Let's do it." I said, "I couldn't see you in West Virginia, but I could see you down here."
Did he go to Atlee with you guys?
Yeah, he went to Atlee with us, and I was like, talked him into going to Florida State. So he was my roommate my freshman year. He ended up having too much fun and failing out, and now he's in the Navy. But yeah, like the only year that me and Alec weren't together was that freshman year. Every single year after that, I think we ended up having 3 houses over 4 years, 5 years while we were there.
What'd you study at Florida State?
Economics was my bachelor's degree, and then I got a master's in marketing.
Did somebody tell you that's basically what agents should focus on?
I was basically told, don't take sports management.
Why is that?
Actually, this is Jose Batista's agent, who was actually from Richmond.
Really? Jose Batista's agent is from Richmond?
Bean Stringfellow, and I forgot the other guy's name, but Bean's the man.
Okay.
Yeah, they're both from Richmond. And they're not a thing anymore, I don't think. Bean retired, and I think the other guy's in something else. But Bean was like, you already know enough about sports to not study sports management. The people that really study sports management are someone that wants to be in like sports admin, or maybe even like a gym teacher would go study sports management. Go diversify yourself in something that numbers, marketing, something that's going to help you down the road, and something that maybe could be used as a backup plan if being an agent didn't work out.
What was more valuable to you think?
Either marketing or econ?
Yeah.
I think economics. I enjoy learning about investing and how the market works. And I feel like, all my guys have a financial advisor, but I feel like knowing that helped a lot. I was also really crappy at math in high school. I didn't really like it. And I ended up falling in love with it and falling in love with stats.
It's crazy,
and econ.
Right?
Yeah, it was unbelievable. Like, I hated finance, and I took a couple of finance classes, and it was just too black and white. Like, this has to go here in this box.
Rules.
Like, what?
Yeah,
no.
Weird.
Give me the x minus, 7zq squared, whatever. Yeah, give me that. Give me the trinomials and stuff like that. And that's what I love doing. And learning about the markets and the financial banking system, I think that helped a lot. Marketing did help a lot, only because it was in grad school and I was writing a lot. So writing a lot helped a lot, especially in emails and just even, reading things and understanding, the CBA or something, and not being a lawyer.
When you're saying CBA, what does that stand for?
CBA is the collective bargaining agreement.
Oh, I should know that.
The NFL,
I'm a football fan. I
NFLPA.
should know that. Yeah, my bad.
No, normal people don't.
I would like to think that I'm such a good football fan that I should know that, but a
lot of people don't.
No
there are only 14 padded practices in the NFL per season.
That's crazy.
14. I think it's 15 now.
It wasn't like that like 25 years ago.
So that doesn't include August. but that's throughout the season. There's only
So once the first regular season game kicks off,
one a week.
wow.
Yeah.
And I imagine they're not hitting very hard even during that one padded practice.
A lot of those guys make millions of dollars too. They're not. A lot of those guys I imagine aren't going. That's why like August and minicamp is really the only way to showcase yourself that you could be a starter potentially in the NFL.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys don't get opportunities like during the season because, like I said, there's only one.
It's all of those practice. 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. But it is really nice that I've been through and seen college football and seen how much those guys get beat up and for nothing.
Oh, it's brutal in college.
It's brutal. Right. I mean, that's Alec's career went down the drain because of it.
He and Nick both told me that they were basically broken by the end of their college time.
Yeah, he had hip surgery and was forced to come back, and he was 80% probably. And of course, after the season, he had to get another hip surgery, and you don't want to draft. No team wants to take a risk or draft a 21-year-old kid who's had double hip surgery twice.
Yeah.
And it's college football is just brutal, and it's really nice that the NFL at least takes care of those guys like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think they always did. But
probably not.
But back in the day,
probably
I don't think they were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is controversial, but I think that the 3-year rule in the NFL should be a thing.
What is the 3-year rule?
Meaning that if a player can't enter the NFL draft unless they're 3 years removed from their high school graduation date. Guys like Saquon Barkley, like he was ready for the NFL at 18, 19 years old.
His quads are ridiculous.
And his career is what I think possibly over with, not over with, but like he's just been beat up.
He's been injured a lot.
Back and forth. Same with Christian McCaffrey. I mean, McCaffrey, since his big contract, highest paid player or highest paid running back in the NFL, he's only played in 10 games, I think it was something like that. He's missed 22 of 33. That's just a brutal sport.
It's
especially
brutal.
Running backs and offensive linemen. I mean, those guys just get beat up every day.
It's freakish athletes that can run really fast.
Yeah.
Are very strong, just big. Their mass is ridiculous. Like you stood next to left tackles, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're insanely big.
Yes.
And they're running into each other directly.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, it's crazy.
Oh, in college, it's even without the shoulder pads. I mean, they go just helmets. Some days they're helmets. Every single play, they're smacking helmets together. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's. I think that's the biggest, the CTE thing. The question with CTE, I think it's just more of just these guys playing too much, and specifically in college, and it's just over and over and over and over and over again, them banging their heads together.
Yeah, there's some folks that like the movie that had Will Smith in it.
Yeah.
The two people that they showed. Well, I think it was repeated like linemen, just not massive.
It's not
shots,
massive hits, yes,
but it's just repeated tens of thousands of times.
It's not the wide receiver coming across the middle and getting hit by the linebacker. I mean, those cause concussions sometimes, but that's not the CTE and the long-lasting brain injuries.
Yeah.
I think that comes from just repeated.
Yeah, the two that they showed in that movie.
Yeah.
One was the center, Hall of Fame center, Webster, and then I guess their right or left tackle.
Yeah, that stuff's sad.
Yeah, super
Very sad.
Yeah, and colleges can be brutal that way.
Absolutely. I mean, they keep their jobs if they win.
Right.
And that's what they care about.
And they win if they have hard and tough kids.
Yeah. I mean, that's the kind of the deal we've had with, some coaches don't like us because, we're having their underclassmen leave. So they don't get an extra season, with that coach and be able to win games. It's pretty funny, actually, some of those.
Well, they have agents that are getting kids, in some cases, saying, hey, it's the best move for you to enter the draft now or make an attempt to go to the NFL. And they also have the transfer portal. Yeah. It's really hard to keep a kid for 4 or 5 years.
Some agents not like me, and they're telling the guy whatever he wants to hear and giving bad advice, too.
Yeah.
There's some people like that. But
who was your first NFL client?
Gabe Neighbors. It was actually during that COVID year. He plays fullback for the Los Angeles Chargers.
How did you meet Gabe?
Tight end at Florida State. He went in as a fullback. Never got a chance to play fullback in Jimbo's offense because they had a fullback there who actually got drafted, went to the Bears, but didn't play. I think he ended up playing like 2 seasons, and never got a chance to play fullback. And then once Jimbo got fired, Gabe became the starter, but Tiger came in and his offense didn't have a fullback, so he got forced to play tight end. And I think this was my first year too, and to start recruiting. As a first-year agent, you can't start recruiting until October 1st. That's when our liability insurance hits. So I couldn't start recruiting until October. I ended up getting Eli Hanback, who we just talked about, Gabe, and then I had a safety, Adam Smith from James Madison, and Eli and Adam didn't really pan out. But Gabe surprised me the most because he had total of two calls from scouts throughout that process. And Eli Handback had about 22. This man had 2 calls, and ended up, his pro day got canceled. He didn't get invited to the combine, so he had no chance of like being seen. And we were kind of panicking because we had no idea what was going to happen with COVID, because this is the middle of March. And
this is right when the pandemic started.
Right when it happened. Like, I remember the NBA got canceled. I think it was like March 14th or something. That's when that's when the COVID started.
That's when it started, yeah.
And so pro days all got canceled. I'm like, damn, I got 3 guys that are probably free agents, and how are they going to be seen by scouts? So what I actually, I told our CEO, I was like, I could definitely figure out a way to have a pro day here in Richmond. And I ended up doing it in Chesterfield. I forgot what that place is called. They had a bunch of turf fields out there, but I ended up doing it out there. We actually had a former 30-year scout who was from Northern Virginia that we paid to make everything more legit and have the scouts at least trust this guy's hand. And Gabe was just incredibly athletic. I honestly didn't know how athletic he was. At 6'3", 245 pounds, he ran like a 4.6, jumped.
You had no idea because they just didn't do those sort of measurables?
No, not in college, and they didn't really use Gabe that much. Like Gabe, I think he only ended up having like 200 yards in his career.
He wasn't beat up?
Yeah, wasn't beat up. He only had like 2 carries his whole career too. His senior year was a lot better than every other year. I think he had like 50 yards total, and then ended up having like 250 after that year.
I interrupted you. What was his vertical?
38 inches, which is ridiculous for a 245 pounds.
Yeah, that's
He's
crazy.
the second biggest fullback in the league currently. The only bigger one is Patrick Ricard, who is a former defensive lineman.
Who's a giant human being.
He's and Gabe's taller than him. He just weighs more than him. He's 300 pounds. So, but yeah, Gabe. I mean, literally on draft day, the Dolphins actually called or texted me and said, "Hey, we're out."
When you say the Dolphins texted you, who not by name,
Scout.
but what guy? Another
Dolphin Scout. Yeah.
Okay.
So he texted me, and he had talked to me beforehand, because those are 2 teams. The only 2 teams that called Gabe were the Chargers and the Dolphins. Dolphins texted me in the 5th round. We're out. We got someone that I think we're going to take. Good luck. Da 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 da. I immediately texted the Chargers, and I said, "Hey, the Dolphins are thinking about offering here. What do you think?" Within 2 minutes, called me and said, "Hey, what do you think he should get? We're ready to sign." And got it done in the 5th round, got it done. He didn't get drafted in the 5th round, but got a free agent signing in the 5th round, because a lot of that happens before the draft is even over.
Right.
A lot of those guys are trying to find PFAs. So we agreed to it, and he's had a pretty decent career already.
FA free agent. What's P?
That's a PFA.
Yeah.
PFA is priority free agent. So it's just you're more of a priority. You're the guy they would give a signing bonus to.
Got it.
Over the other free agents.
And you show up to camp summer.
Yeah, he showed up to camp, and there was only one other fullback there. We were kind of nervous because the guy was pretty good, a pretty damn good blocker. Like Gabe's specialty is, he's just athletic. He's a good blocker too, but he was just, one of the best route runners I've ever seen at 245 pounds. But he ended up making the team. He ended up, scoring 2 touchdowns last year, which was pretty awesome.
That's cool. You had to be going nuts for each of those touchdowns.
24 years old, and like week 3 having a client score a touchdown. Hell yeah. And I remember I think I missed the first one. Me and my dad were watching, like, holy shit, that's Gabe. And I was like, rewind it, watch it again. And yeah, it was great too, because he had like back-to-back penalties the weekend before, and he's the type of guy that just eats at himself. And he was just, I could tell on TV he was losing his mind. And we actually, I'm going to plug my agency here. We're one of the only agencies that pays a sports psychiatrist to work with all our guys. Mm-hmm. And I called Dr. Martin. I said, I don't know if you're watching the Chargers game, but I need you to talk to Gabe. Literally talked to him on that Monday, and the next week scores his first touchdown, and the week after scores the second one. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, really cool.
How's this season going this year?
Pretty good, man. He actually, I went to, so my other client plays for the Chiefs, and I went to Kansas City to watch both of them play each other. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet, but he actually scored in that game, and he got called back.
What's his name again?
Gabe Neighbors.
No, not Gabe.
So my other client, Josh Kando. He's a totally different story. Gabe was the lowest rated recruit in his recruiting class. Josh was, I think, the highest. He was a 5-star out of IMG, top 5 player in the country. He was ranked higher than Chase Young.
How did you land him?
He 4 different position coaches at FSU. He was there. His freshman year was Jimbo's last year, so he left. Tyra came in. He had a totally new position coach. Tyra got fired. He had another totally new position coach back-to-back years. And then he, his best season was his sophomore year. He in the middle of the year against UVA, he actually broke his leg. Broke his leg. He had a couple of concussions. Just had a lot of injuries. Not anything like major besides that broken leg. So like teams were willing to take a risk on him because he's 6'6", 260 pounds, 5% body fat. Ran the same 40 as Gabe. I think he jumped 37, which is some ridiculous. And yeah, he's created players like that. Like what I like to say.
He's getting nice playing time.
Yeah, he was playing like throughout week 6, and they have Chris Jones, and they were playing Chris Jones a lot of D end and D tackle at the beginning of the year.
He's maybe the best defensive lineman in football.
Yeah. Oh, he's balling right now.
Yeah.
But I was at this game. It was against the Eagles in Philly, and Chris was running off the field, and I think Spagnuolo grabbed the first guy that he could, and that was Kendo. And Josh went in there, and he didn't realize that he was going to be playing D tackle. Chris Jones was playing D tackle at that point, and this is just a mistake on the coaching staff. And I mean, he's too small to play D tackle, especially inside, and ended up rolling his ankle and had a high ankle sprain.
Yeah.
And that was, I mean, I expected this year for him to be like a redshirt year, because he just needs to learn so much more that he hasn't learned at FSU,
right.
Just with that staff and not being with the same people. And I was totally fine with this being a redshirt year. So actually, the NFL rules when you're on injured reserve, it's 3 weeks until you can come back. He's been healthy for probably the past 4, but I'm not sure if they want to. You basically don't have to be brought back up unless they want to bring you back up.
Right.
So he could be on injured reserve for the rest of the season at least.
Is he being paid on IR?
Yeah, they're being paid. So like, it's actually weird. This is where it gets specific.
Why agents exist? One of the reasons.
Yeah. There's a thing called a split, which basically means if you're on IR, you get roughly about half your salary. So Josh, and that's basically any rookie. Most rookies in that first season will have a full season split, meaning if they get injured at any time of the season and are on IR, then they're going to get paid half the amount for all the weeks that they're on IR. The big thing is to kind of try to get rid of those splits in the years following. So like next year, which was really nice. Most guys have a full split in year 2 too. He only has a preseason split. So if he gets hurt in the preseason and then any weeks beyond that he's on IR, he gets paid in half. But if he gets hurt in the regular season next year and he's on IR, he gets paid in full.
So it's a better contract.
Absolutely. Yeah. Way better contract. I mean, that's another $200,000, $400,000. You know?
Yeah. So I interrupted you. You were at the Kansas City Chargers game.
Yeah.
And Gabe scored a touchdown, but it was called back.
And
then I interrupted you.
Yeah, he was called back. Jared Cook had I think it was lined up wrong, and I was out at that game just seeing both my clients play against each other was really cool. But
super cool.
Oh yeah, very cool. And being on the field at the same time, I would just have loved to see Gabe score a touchdown. But besides that, I mean, they've been playing pretty well. Chiefs are actually playing pretty well now.
I think they have to worry about the Patriots in the AFC.
The Patriots look good.
They threw the ball 3 times last night.
That was unbelievable.
It's first time since '74.
I cannot believe that one.
I think it's the lowest like in the last 50 years.
That is some Belichick stuff to do that too.
Oh, when he saw high wins, he's like, "Yep, I know what I'm doing."
He loved it too.
Oh, he absolutely
loved every bit of it.
It's probably the happiest he's been in years.
I was telling Josh today, I just can't imagine playing defense against something like that. I cannot imagine them just pounding the ball.
It's brutal
over and over and over.
It's cold and you know they're going to run.
You're getting distraught.
Yeah. Brutal. All right. So, how many agents are in your firm?
Probably about 8.
Okay.
I believe 8.
That's lower number than I figured.
Yeah, I think it might be around 10. Yeah, it's probably 9 or 10. We're spread out all over the country.
You can live anywhere in the country.
Yeah, realistically, yeah. I mean, we're always recruiting. We're always on the road, either visiting clients or out recruiting. So I mean, what I usually recruit is Virginia down to Florida. I don't go farther west than Alabama usually, but it really depends on where my connection is. So obviously, like if there's a guy from Richmond and I know his dad or know someone that knows his dad, or that's the type of guy I would go after. That would be playing for Maine or something. But most of the time I'm south.
How many clients do you have now?
I only have 2 NFL clients.
And then total?
Yeah, this is my 3rd year of recruiting, I guess. And I have about 5 or 6 coaching clients.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the coaching clients that's the big thing for me for the coaching clients is just, I believe in those guys, and I think they'll end up being something. And they help me out too, and I help them. The big thing I let them all do is we represent Von Miller, so Von has his Pass Rush Summit every year, and those guys love we basically Zoom it too. The classroom stuff, so those guys can learn a bunch from.
And Vaughn has an amazing personality too.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah.
DeMarcus Ware's usually there every year, and DeMarcus,
also a great guy.
Seeing him in person, he could play tomorrow. He could literally come back.
And he hasn't played in 3 or 4 years, right?
Ridiculous looking. Yeah. And just learning from those guys, like Josh went there and was able to learn from those guys since our agency put it on, and he was just sitting there just jaw to the floor, like realizing like how much stuff he has to learn.
Yeah, those guys are the elite of the elite.
It's an art. It's an art form. At the end of the day, pass rushing is.
It's an art form. It requires a ton of skill, physical prowess in the top 100%.
Yeah. Oh, Von's you can't teach a lot of stuff Von does. I remember like that Super Bowl sack fumble. He held himself up with his hand on the ground as he was reaching and grabbing Cam Newton's arm. And that's one of the most unbelievable things I've seen.
It's like it's effortless for him.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Just the bend and to be able to do that is incredible.
I like Vaughn better in Denver than I like him in LA now for some reason.
Yeah. Well, I'm a Rams fan, so I'm maybe a little partial to that. But
but you started out as a St. Louis Rams fan.
Yes.
And are you bummed that they're in LA now? Or
no, I also don't. I also don't, I guess, care as much anymore since I got clients in the
that's fair.
In the NFL, and I'm cheering for more of the time watching the Chargers play since they're on the West Coast. So those 4 p.m. games, I'm watching the Chargers rather than watching the Rams. But I'll watch the Rams if they're Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football.
I kind of want the Rams to lose. I've never been a hater of the Rams, but they seem to be trying to buy a Super Bowl.
Yes.
And frankly, my team's Tampa Bay. We were talking about
basketball.
Before. Yeah, it's kind of like basketball these days. Tampa kind of bought a team too. They brought Gronkowski out of retirement. Obviously, they got Brady, and we won the Super Bowl, and I was very happy with that. But I don't want the Rams to do it the same way.
The same thing.
Yeah.
Well, honestly, that Patriots Super Bowl kills me. Both of them actually, but the last one where they scored 3 points, they came in with the best offense in the league and could only put up 3 points in the Super Bowl. And I don't know if it's McVay or if it was Goff at that point, but I can sense it and feel it that they're going to choke at some point.
That's how I felt most of the time as a Tampa fan. Yeah, I would love for you to get a Tampa client.
Oh, that would be awesome.
That'd be super cool.
That'd be awesome.
Because you get to hang out. Do you hang out with the teams at all, or is it really just with your client?
Just with my client. I go visit them. Gabe was literally, his roommate was Justin Herbert last year.
Oh, really?
So going.
Did they know each other before they made the team?
No, they just were, I guess, for friends throughout camp and mini camp, and
they're about the same age.
Yeah, it ended up being. Justin's one of the most normal people I've ever met in my entire life, and
he's like so normal it's abnormal.
He's a goofy, weird kind of dude.
Super
very
smart,
humble, very smart, very kind of to himself. But going there and. I think I met him and Gabe there in LA after their Monday Night Football game, and I think he had just got done throwing 4 touchdown passes or whatever Monday Night Football and beating the Saints. And
whoever passed him up, whoever needed a quarterback that draft and passed him up has to be
kicking themselves. Absolutely,
super ridiculous.
That's what's kind of funny about being in this industry too. There's no consensus grade on guys. At the end of the day, it's human error and who you like better and who, what guy. There's guys in the same building that disagree with each other. So at the end of the day, that's what I say. It takes one team to fall in love with you.
And sometimes it's a system and compatibility with the culture and all that. A lot of things have to come together.
The character stuff plays a huge role into it. I knew a guy last year who didn't get drafted because of a tweet. That was it. It's crazy. Transferring too much.
Seems minor.
Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. It's just they know what they want. They want a coachable guy who will listen, who won't go against the coaches, especially won't go out in social media and say something about the coaches. And that's really what they want. If I'm in an interview and I'm a scout and I ask you, what would you be doing without football, and you tell me you want to be a doctor or something like that, that's not what I want to hear. I want to hear you say I would lose myself if it wasn't for football.
Yeah,
I don't know
everything.
what I'd be doing. Yeah, because they have to feed their families and they want guys who
want them to be hungry.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So is it football only for you, or could you have clients outside of football?
I could. I would just have to pay another fee, pass another exam.
Got it.
And basketball is just a different animal right now. At least like recruiting those guys. Like I mean, in this industry, you have to have money to make money, because all those guys are going to get, number one, a stipend once they leave college, and number two, during that training period, they're going to get a stipend, and they're also going to get their training paid for and their flights. And I mean, even Kyle Pitts. I think Kyle Pitts got a $1 million marketing advance before even signing, but to sign with just a marketing agency. It wasn't even just the agent. And it's just, I mean, basketball is just a different ballgame. I mean, those guys are getting, I mean, I can't imagine how much money Zion got.
There are 12 guys on a team in the NBA.
It's only 400 guys.
Yeah, right.
Whereas, like, baseball, there's too many guys.
Right.
Way too many. We represent baseball players, too, and our two best guys are playing their best ball and in their prime at 34 years old. Yeah. They played in the Korean baseball organization for their whole career, and now one of our guys is the best hitter on the Giants, and
that's crazy, right?
Best team in baseball, but he's 34 and playing the best baseball he's ever played.
And that guy's one of the reasons the Giants were good last year out of nowhere. I don't think anybody expected them to be that good.
Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, so I've thought about it. I think I'm going to focus on this NFL thing for a little bit and see where it goes. Man. It is a lot more. It is fun. There's a lot more guys. There's still not that many guys. I mean, there's only 1,700 and
53 times.
That's why I say every year there's 250 guys getting drafted. There's 1,700 players in the league. Someone is losing their job at some point. So that's why I told my client, he's 6'6", 260 pounds. I would be picking up every single rock to try to figure out what works for me, how I can make myself better, more than just going out of the practice field. Well, what can I do? Yoga? Can I do meditation? Can I do acupuncture? Like that type of stuff to take care of your body and play like a LeBron James who's played for 15 years. Mind,
body, spirit, and
absolutely.
Your body is a machine that is worth a lot of money.
It's making you money. Yeah. Take care of it.
All right, cool. Let's talk about your family.
Yeah.
You had mentioned your dad had passed away a few months ago. Talk about your dad and what he meant to you.
Oh, my dad was the man. Taught me everything about business. Obviously, I wouldn't be in this position either if it wasn't for him basically forcing me to be an agent. Super passionate man, and I think he was always a guy. I mean, was always just one of those our dads that coached all the youth teams. Was always out there. I think he ended up coaching like 3 or 4 lacrosse teams of ours, and he had no idea what he was talking about lacrosse wise. So it was just out there.
But he was there for his kid.
Absolutely, yeah. It was the coolest thing ever, and I think my brother and I both get like our entrepreneurial spirit from him. That's all he did. I mean, he's had some crazy jobs, but that was really all he did. Since he got out of college was be an entrepreneur. I mean, he started a copy shop, multiple copy shops actually downtown, and they did a bunch of litigation work. Eventually, they ended up doing a bunch of litigation work, which made him the most of his money. But he was
pre-internet.
Oh yeah, and he used to laugh because basically in a copy shop, and I worked there one summer. It's the worst job ever because you're sitting there. I mean, Philip Morris would send boxes upon boxes and boxes of stuff, and what they wanted to do was have it run through a copier and put on a USB or put it on a hard drive somewhere. And it'd be like, giant books, thousands of pages. You have to remove the paper clips to push them through. There's some with staples. You have to take them out and move them through. And
maybe the most boring job.
Oh, I sat there for 5 hours and just looking at, you're pressing the green button is what he used to say. But he was just so good at talking to people. Like he would sit in his office and call. After he hangs up from someone else, he's calling someone else. After he hangs
he was
up
a hustler.
Else, he's calling someone else. Yeah. And he's just made everyone laugh, made everyone smile, and that's why he was a good businessman because people loved him. And that's what I try to do too.
He built great relationships.
Absolutely.
And he grinded.
And he'd go out his way for people too. And I think that's why they were very loyal to him.
Yeah.
And kept him. That's how he kept clients because people loved him.
Yeah. He left this earth too young.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, he taught me and my brother, I think, everything about business.
Tell me about your mom.
My mom's great. She was born in Roanoke, Salem, Virginia. So that's again where all my family's from that area. Loves Virginia Tech. My mom is one of the most caring people I've ever met in my life, obviously, and she would again do anything for anyone, just like my dad. And I think that's why they loved each other so much, is because they both do anything for anyone. My mom actually, which was awesome, when we were growing up throughout high school, she was a massage therapist. So like football injuries, like free massage therapist all the time. She grew up doing massage. I mean, she did massage therapy, did essential oils, ended up stopping that, and now she's doing real estate.
Okay.
still live in the same house we grew up in. She is.
Where the redneck parties were.
Yeah. Totally different now. We were actually, this funny thing, we were the first house in Ash Creek on that street. I have pictures of just the whole thing. It's just woods. And then I saw one lone house by itself. But yeah, we're the original. So she's the original, still there.
If they didn't build other houses, you wouldn't have Oktoberfest.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Redneck parties.
Tell me about your brother.
My brother is boy genius.
Boy genius?
Boy genius, man. I mean, he went to school for free at VCU, full ride.
Okay.
Honors college. Was gonna, he's really good at lacrosse, too. Like I said, he played goalie for the state.
And he's taller than you.
He's 6'3", yeah. And he was thinking about going to McGill up in Canada, which is the Harvard, I guess, of Canada.
It's where the right guard for Kansas City from a couple years ago.
Yeah. Tardif. Yeah. That he actually ended up applying and didn't get in. His GPA was insane, though. I don't understand how he didn't get in.
Because he's not Canadian, maybe.
Yeah. He applied. He applied there. Villanova didn't get into Villanova too, but then VCU. He applied to VCU, and I think this was his last option there. Full ride, honors college.
Yeah, it's weird how that stuff works.
But he wants to get into politics and lobbying right now. He's working for Dominion right now and doing really, really, really well. He's been working for Dominion actually since his junior year, I think, being paid part-time.
Okay.
But now he's full-time job with Dominion, but he wants to get into lobbying at some point. He worked for Cozen O'Connor. I believe they're a lobby firm here in Richmond. He interned for them. And I think he's about to get a job with them too. But yeah, he's insanely smart. Way smarter than
you guys are tight?
Yeah, we're actually about to buy a house together at some point here
nice.
soon. Yeah.
Okay.
Save some money and I mean, we inherited a lot of money from my dad, so being able to save that and being smart with it is our best option. So that's what we're going to try to do.
Right on. Right.
But he's way more analytical, and I guess I'm more ride the seat of my pants kind of guy, and he's more just smart. And
I'm with you.
Straight to this.
I'm with you. It's more fun.
Right? Yeah, absolutely.
By the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
Analytical. If it's your nature to be analytical, great. And analysts have their place, but it doesn't sound fun to me.
Yeah, no. But yeah, he's again he might be better. Might be more accomplished than I am, honestly.
That's all good.
Well,
he's your brother.
23 years old.
He's your brother, and you love him, and you want him to do well.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. He's good competition.
Yeah, I don't have a brother, so I don't know what that's like, but I imagine it would have been good for me to have a brother.
Yeah. Thankfully, I got my licks in too, because he's 6'3" now. But
yeah, he's not a small guy.
Yeah,
not a small guy. All right, I have an occasional co-host that loves being here for sports ones, but he has a close family member in the hospital, so he couldn't be here tonight. He's also a LA Chargers fan, and so he really wanted to be here tonight because Gabe is one of your clients. But he asks a question at the end of every or most of our episodes. Yeah. I'm going to ask it a little bit differently than he does. But you get to be a talk show host. It could be a late night show. It can be a day talk show. And you get to pick 3 guests. A male guest, a female guest, a musical group, or a solo musical person. They can be alive or dead. They can be thought-provoking. They can be entertaining. They can be funny. Whatever you want it to be. Who are your 3 guests?
3?
And you're the host.
I think one would have to be Kurt Warner. One of them.
Have you ever met him?
Once. Met him once. I had a lot of autographs from going to St. Louis a lot. I've only been there twice, but St. Louis had a little thing where the players would park under a hotel underground, and they'd walk up across the street, and they'd be right there all the time and walk into the stadium. So I got a lot of autographs. But yeah, just Kurt. I mean, his story is just insane. Just going from, he played in the European Football League to grocery store.
Yeah, he was putting stuff on shelves in grocery stores.
Yeah, that story. I don't know how many times I've watched that. What is it, America's Game, about the Super Bowl teams?
Well, and they're making it like a Hollywood movie about it.
Which it looks a little cheesy, but
it looks super cheesy.
I'm definitely gonna watch it. But yeah, his story is just insane to me, and the fact that he wasn't even the starting quarterback that year either. Trent Green was, and Trent Green tears his ACL in the preseason. This guy who no one had ever heard of comes in and wins the Super Bowl, and then becomes a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, Brady, it's not Brady without Bledsoe getting hurt, right?
So he was one of my heroes growing up, and I would definitely love to sit down with him.
Not surprising you gave us a football player for your male guest.
I'm trying to think of a female guest. I'm trying to think older too, I feel like.
Can be from hundreds of years ago. Can be from somebody you met a few months ago. Can be famous or not famous.
I think someone like I would love to meet like my great grandmother, great great grandmother. You know, just see. I'm really interested in like my ancestry and where I've come from, and I mean, I'm Appalachia is where most of my family is from. But I've heard,
hard living back then.
Yeah, well, I've heard a lot of stories about. I don't know if you've heard of Melungeons.
Sure.
And I haven't done like any of the ancestry stuff, but I'm very interested to see if I have any of that in me. So like meeting I think my great grandmother would be really cool.
Mom's side or dad's side, or doesn't
my
matter?
mom's side. Mom's side. So my mom's side's from Appalachia. My dad is from everywhere basically. I mean, he was born in California, grew up in Wilmington.
Gotcha.
The family kind of all over the place. I'm not really honestly sure where. I know his heritage is from Scotland. But I'm not sure anywhere else. And then music group.
You can also audible if you're a big comedy fan. You can give me a comedian if you'd rather do that.
I honestly think Ronnie Van Zant. I would love to meet Ronnie Van Zant. Just because, I mean, I think he's number one misunderstood. He was misunderstood at least. And I don't know if you've seen that documentary on Netflix.
I've seen a couple. I haven't seen that one.
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, he supposedly, when they wrote Freebird, he walked in one day and they used to play in that little shack, and it was no AC, nothing.
They're just high school kids.
Yeah. And they would play in the shack, and the guy was whatever the guitarist's name, I forgot his name, but he was doing the Freebird riff, and Ronnie came in and said, "Don't stop." Went out into the river on a boat and wrote the whole song in his head.
Oh wow! After hearing the riff.
Yeah, came back 10 minutes later, and or whatever, 30 minutes later or whatever, and they were still playing, and
super creative.
Boom. Yeah.
Very artistic.
Yeah, very, and I think he was ahead of his time too, in general, and like, what is it? Because I saw that, and he was like against guns, which was kind of crazy too, like especially being how southern he was.
He was from the deep south. Yeah.
He said he was talking about he only had one gun, and it was his grandpa's shotgun that he kept above his fireplace, and he said, but other than that, they can take them or something like that. And it was kind of, I mean, I'm not like totally against guns or anything like that, but it was just kind of did not see that coming from him and a guy like him.
Well, he grew up in the Panhandle, Florida.
Absolutely. I mean, he was a hippie in a way, but a hippie fake Southerner at the same time.
Right.
And yeah, he's just an interesting guy, man, in general.
It takes guts to not be the prototypical person from that part of the world.
Absolutely.
Too.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And everything with even the Confederate flag too. Like he said he loved the South, and that's the reason they flew it. And I think if he knew if it was like offensive to anyone, he would not. He would not fly it. He would have a different position. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he was a good dude.
All right, so we talked about Tech and UVA before we started recording. I think both coaching positions are open right now, or did
Tech got Brett Pry from
where's he from?
He was a DC at Penn State, I believe.
Okay.
And then UVA is still looking for the coach.
But I think the lead candidate is Anthony Poindexter.
Is it?
Yeah.
Where's he from?
Well, he's at Penn State too.
Oh, really?
Ironically, he's the co-defensive coordinator, and I think he coaches the safeties because he was the best safety UVA ever had back in the. He played in the '90s, but he's the best safety that I can recall playing for UVA. I would love to see Anthony be our head coach.
I could tell you what, I could never ever coach college football.
Why is
my
that?
entire life. I mean, those guys are just gone all the time from their families. I mean, that was the biggest thing. Like too, working with the team was we'd be flying out on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day
because there's a bowl game.
Yeah. Like Coach Norvell, I just talk about Florida State. Like they played Saturday, and next day they played Saturday, lost, didn't have a bowl game. The next day he was flying out at 6 a.m. to go recruit. It's insane.
They're working 365.
The same thing with his job. Like he signed the Florida State, got the job, signed the contract. Next day, 6 a.m. recruiting. It's 7
days a week.
I've also never seen anyone more stressed out in my life than I've ever seen Jimbo Fisher, and I saw that and I was like, no, could never do that.
Yeah, and when you lose, it's got to be soul crushing because you're just putting so much energy and effort into it.
Yeah, you got to feed your family too, is what I think about. These guys, like that's literally their life, and if they lose their job.
Yeah, and how many people get to Nick Saban's level?
Yeah, not many at all. Yeah, not at all. Like I'm interested to see how long McVay lasts with the Rams. Like, is he going to be a 30-year Like, is he going to coach them for 30 years, or is he
not in LA?
You know, yeah. I mean, I think they get one or two losing seasons, he might be out.
Yeah,
yeah.
But he'll pick up somewhere else.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's hard to keep a job in college football.
I don't know what's the attraction for those guys.
I guess they just love football.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing with, like, I mean, Saban, didn't he try to coach in the NFL and it was a complete failure?
In Miami. He won a national championship at LSU, then goes to Miami. Didn't work out super well, and then he takes over the college football world.
And I think a lot of that just goes back to like I think Saban's a good builder of men. I think Jimbo, is in his own way a good builder of men too. I think that's the difference between college and NFL, is these guys are men and they're making probably more money than you are.
Oh yeah.
And the Sabans of the world, I don't know, they just more businessy, I guess, and
businessy and driven and Well, I've heard a lot of people describe Division I, FBS, Big Five conferences. The head coaches are really CEOs.
Yes, absolutely.
Because there's so much for them to
run
manage.
The town.
Yeah.
They're the mayor, basically.
Yeah,
yeah. Like,
well, they have to deal with boosters. They have to recruit. They have to deal with the administration for the school. All that.
What they say goes.
Yeah,
absolutely, in that building. Why do you think Bronco left? By the way, I didn't read into that.
I think Bronco. Look, I don't personally know Bronco. Yeah. I wanted Bronco to work out. I wanted him to coach next season. And I think the fact that he has a losing record after 6 seasons, and the fact that he went 1-5 against Virginia Tech, I think it bothered him. I think it bothered him that he wasn't more successful. And I think when he said, and when he announced it in that little video, I think he was sincerely saying, I need to step away, because clearly what I've been doing for the last few years is not working out. But he loves football.
Probably obsessed with it.
Yeah, but he was smart enough to realize he probably needed to step away. That's my take on the whole thing. I haven't heard anything from the administration saying that, hey, actually this was a mutually agreed upon thing. I think it was truly his decision. And it's rare, and he's fortunate he was able to make that decision.
Good for him, though. It probably became unhealthy, honestly.
I think he's self-diagnosed that he was not in the greatest place.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I think a couple other things, like he picks up a couple of recruits that he unfortunately didn't get early on. Maybe it turns out differently.
Yeah.
It's a very tight margin.
I'm interested to see if they'll pick up where they are right now. I mean, they've been pretty damn good, at least. Their
offense is good.
I haven't seen them this good since I've been
Their offense is one of the better offenses that they've ever had. And statistically, it already is the best. They're breaking a bunch of records. Their defense, and I'm not picking on college kids when I say this, it's just there's something wrong there. I don't know if it's a talent thing. I don't know if they're really young and they just need another year or two, or if it's scheme or game time coaching. Yeah. Like I don't know what it is, but watching Tech run through them like they did, I just couldn't believe it. I could not believe it.
Going back to what you just said too, that's one of my biggest pet peeves is like grown men calling out kids on Twitter.
Oh, yeah, come on.
Calling out kids by name on Twitter.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
18 to 22-year-old kids. I mean, those kids got already. That's why I think there's like a big mental health thing with especially a lot of these athletes, is there's so much pressure on them at all times, 24/7 to be successful, especially starting in college.
Well, and if they want to play in the NFL, they know they're not going to play till they're 60. They're going to play if they're lucky until they're 30.
Yes. Yeah.
If they're lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Austin, it was great talking to you tonight. I'm glad Nick connected us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's been. I feel like I've talked to your inner circle. At least a couple guys in your inner circle. So great to get to know you and your buddies.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, it was
awesome.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd also really appreciate if you'd rate and review us. You can find us at scodupodcast.com.